Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Vintage Voyage. I am here with always as Ben, and we are here to talk some Bronze Age Marvel horror comics tonight. You guys liked us talking these new modern books so much, we thought we'd do it another time and talk some newer stuff instead of the stuff that's older than your grandpa. So we're just going to talk the stuff that's slightly older than us.
Some of us.
Yeah. And we had a great show last week. If you can help us out and remember to like and subscribe, we would really, really appreciate it. And as always, check out our friends at CBSI Comic Book Invest for your best free comic content daily for your investing, speculating, and just general cool comic knowledge. Check them out, comicbookinvest.com. And our friends at Comic Barricade, who have finally helped us out and upgraded to the XL size for the magazine size boxes, where you can get your magazine size, your Golden Age size for those of you that only do the Golden Age, as well as your slabs. So check it out. That's how it looks. Use your code Flipside for 10% off your order and always free shipping. So, Ben, how we doing, sir?
I'm good. What's good, brother?
I am great. I am excited about this topic. We talked about it a little bit. We've even argued a little bit on behind the scenes on it, but I think we came up with an interesting list. So this one, last time we kind of were just going investing and no limit on the skies. Here we tried to stay off of the big boy books. So here's a couple of the Marvel Spotlight 5, Tomb of Dracula 10, Marvel Spotlight 2 even, and Tomb 1. These are ones that we don't feel are undervalued at this point. Are they great investment books? Probably, yes. I don't think you're going to lose money on any of them. We like some of them more than others. Tomb of Dracula to me is the wonky one of the bunch. I don't know how to think it'll go, but it's definitely not
1, not 10.
Yeah, what I say 10? No, well, I meant 1.
No, you just said Tomb of Dracula, but to be clear,
1.
You meant 1.
1, because I don't see Marvel using that version of Dracula, if they use them at all. So, just throwing that out there. It is what it is. We also didn't get into the magazines. I think that's probably a whole nother genre, so we skipped the Marvel Vampire Tales 2, Man-Thing, all that stuff. So we stuck to comics. Savage Tales, yes, which is
Savage Tales, Vampire Tales, exactly. It is Man-Thing.
All that stuff. So there's a lot of good magazines. We may hit those another day, but we decided to stick with the comic format. So just want to say thank you to all our watchers. We got Graphic Man, Luis Ramirez, Darth Lopez, Highlander Comics, Johnny Dakota is new, Kenny Bishop, welcome, sir, and El Jefe. So welcome, guys. Chat is lively. We appreciate it when you keep us on our toes. And if we see a question, we'll try and answer some of them as we go. If we don't see it, I apologize. So this is a book. This is a list in no particular order, but it's just 10 books we like that thought were undervalued. I'm going to start with the one that Ben kind of hinted at last week and maybe we mentioned, and he's a big fan of, is the Living Mummy, the Supernatural Thrillers 5. I mean, why not at this point?
I don't. That is, if you want sound speculation advice, why not at this point?
It's cheap. You can find copies for nothing. Cheap. You might see it on a dealer wall for $15-$20, but they're usually reaching. This is a book you can get cheaper online than you can get in real life, I bet, most of the time.
Silly, until you hit the 9.6, 9.8, and even then it's... Again, if you believe in the horror, if you believe that we're getting the horror element that we're getting, I'm not going to speak like we're not getting it. We're absolutely getting it. It's the question is how deep they go.
Well, yeah, is it supernatural or do they go? We know they're going supernatural and all the magic, but do they go into the deeper horror?
Can I say this book? Oh man, of all the books, this is the book that everyone fucking jiggles and laughs and they're like, what the fuck is wrong with this, dude? Like, you know what I said that about? I mean, I said that about good books, but I was just being
I've said that about a lot of books and then looked back and went, shit.
Right. But you can look back and be like, I wasn't paying attention to the market. I was being a putz. Dude, Strange Tales 180. I am on fucking Saturn. Strange Tales 180. Gamora? Like, even right up to the casting of Zoe. I don't fuck her last name up, so I'm just going to leave it. That book was clown shoes, man. Bright orange cover, stupid ass. Like, nobody cared. Even when it hit, it was like $20 or $30. Yeah. And then it went crazy. I'm not saying this will do the same thing, but this has that same laugh factor that's keeping it at $20 for a
cover, though. I mean, it's a mummy. He's front and center. It's not a fucking alien that isn't a mummy.
No.
So the one thing that makes this character tough is, I think, copyright claims with the Universal monsters are pretty tough. So that's your card with some of these characters. Same with Dracula, is if they do anything too traditionally, he's going to get caught in it. They have to do things very original and very Marvel way if they're going to do any of it.
I think they have to do the original shit to be able to copyright it themselves and like trademark their shit.
Yeah.
I think they can use the word mummy. Otherwise, like museums and shit would be all.
Yeah. It's just they can't go. They got to really play these characters carefully to avoid the Universal monster crossover. So, but I can't argue. It's so cheap that there's definitely some value to be had with any kind of. People could just decide they want this book. It doesn't have to be a movie thing, man. People could just say, I've got all the other horror characters. I want this one. We've seen fads on Instagram or Facebook. For the love of God, we've seen Darkhawk posted 1 million times. This would only take that.
The fucking Darkhawk, man. I mean, this is that Bronze Age shit that... I don't know, man. Again, these are in no particular order, except this is the weakest of the list.
Yes, this is the weakest. I'm going to jump to the other one that we kind of butted heads over a bit, but I think it's interesting to talk about and interesting to discuss. I didn't even size this one right. I came in late. Marvel Premiere 27, Satana's first appearance in a comic. We know she showed up in Vampire Tales 2. She's got the Hellstrom show going on right now on Hulu. Same with her brother Damian Hellstrom. There was some movement on the books. I haven't seen a lot of chatter about that show. I haven't sat down and watched it myself, but I think it's not going to be canon. And if these characters come back around in the movie universe, I think they'll just be different.
I like this book. I think it has way more attention. And I understand it could be all speculator generated when one person starts and then Bronze Age books from... I actually have notes this time because the Bronze Age and I are not friends. 1975, Gil Kane, who does... I mean, when you get into Bronze Age artists, we can talk all day, but the books themselves, like this book, the upside is... Hulk 271.
Oh yeah, your Rocket Raccoon theory.
The more realistic, unless she hits, she could hit. Her and Elsa Bloodstone could fucking hit. She could just come, and she could already be on. I could just be terrible and not know that she's already on the Hulu show.
She's on the show, but I don't. It's such a different version of the character. Kind of like Lucifer and the show there. They're rough ideas, but they're not really the same.
So I don't expect to see movement on this from the book, but she's relevant enough to the Marvel horror MCU if it's constructed in the way, if they build it out, and they could build it out in 2 or 3 movies, right? And I mean, Gamora, Nebula, nobody fucking liked that shit.
No.
Before the movies. It was the casting and the movies that made them good. So,
well, I argued with you on a book I thought was maybe a better bet, and I had said, why not Ghost Rider 2?
Yeah, and that's a fair question. I mean...
Which is the first...
I know you dig it.
First true comic appearance of Damian Hellstrom.
Full, right? He's in one?
He's in one as a foot or a leg or something stupid.
Yeah. As a whisper.
Yeah, I mean, and he appeared in the original Ghost Rider. I mean, it's tied really strongly to him. So I don't know. Let's not say it's on the list, but this was a book that I argued could be on the list. I think you argued that maybe it's got a little more attention than the other one.
And this is because of the Hulu show.
Yeah.
That it has attention. I mean, it's always been known that it was that book, but 5, 6, 7 years ago, no one gave a shit about it. It was, I mean, honestly, now, and it can be said the same for the fucking Satana book. Nobody gives a shit. How many people we lost by opening with these gems?
Yeah, well, whatever. Truthfully, Vampire Tales 2 is out of the fucking stratosphere for the book it is, for the character it is, but that's a tough book. It's not got her on the cover, but it's got a cool cover. You know, that's the other thing this one has going for it, though, is this is a pretty solid cover. You know? So, argument aside, this is another book I thought is worthy of a mention. I don't know if it's undervalued or not, but it's one we kind of butted heads at the end about. Let's go. We'll hit a bigger one that was more interesting. Tomb of Dracula 25. First,
I'm going to say what up to Dennis Hayes, Doc J, JJ Maxwell.
The usual
Facebook
crew.
user. I hate it when it doesn't tell people's names, so you're just like, hey.
First, Hannibal King. He's fairly intricate in the Blade lore. We saw him as Ryan Reynolds in the third Blade movie when it was over at that Sony or Fox, whoever had that. Actually, they didn't do a terrible job with that character because it's Ryan Reynolds and he
No, yeah, he did.
He
did whatever, as good as you could do for Blade 3 or whatever the fuck it was.
I watched it. It's not as bad a movie as you remember.
After Iron Man 2, everything blurred out until 3, and then so for bad Marvel movies, they fight in my head with that Captain America bootleg where he's like on the motorcycle and shit from like 1970 whatever.
But Hannibal King, part of the legacy, the Night Stalkers use him. I mean, he's tied to this whole supernatural thing. Is he going to lead a movie? No, but he's going to be a pretty integral piece of the Blade puzzle if it goes beyond a movie or two. I mean, does he have to be in the first movie? No, but I think if you go beyond 1 or 2, he's going to float in there. Just has to.
I don't think he even floats. I think he comes in hard with somebody later on the list.
Yeah, they're all tied together. Their origins are tied together.
I think you get the Dracula or the vampire, whatever people want to call them, the Dracula hunters.
Yeah. The Night Stalker. It's also way.
Well, then you can. I mean, Night Stalkers is almost a guarantee of like more of a focus.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get Rachel and the other dude there.
But it also could mean you could with the multiple multiple Ghost Riders at some point, because we know Marvel's playing that card. They don't know which Ghost Rider. They want to use Blaze, but they also like some of those other additions.
They need to use what's her name?
I mean, yeah, there's the female. There's
the female Ghost Rider. Yeah.
There's the new one that was on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And, all of us freaking love Danny Ketch because that's the one that we were reading when we were kids. And, you got to go play. So I don't know. I don't know what they do. They have so many renditions of the character with Ghost Rider, but Hannibal King is a safe bet, and it's a cheap book until you get into the high grades. I mean, you can grab copies.
1974.
You can grab copies all day long for $20-$30 in the very good to fine range.
I was going to say it's in the VG to 6s. It's when you pass that. This is a book I've been buying for 2 years, and when I say I've been buying, I have not run out and grabbed 9.6s, 9.8s. I have found them in bins and gone $10. Well, I can't say no. And it's been in the VG to VF range. I have some VFs, but never, nothing nicer. But
this is sometimes I talk to high grades. This is one I don't want to go balls in on a 9.6, 9.8, even 9.4. I like
unless it was like $150, and then you go all day. But at
but that's not where we're at.
At $350, you're like,
there's better bets.
Man, there's so many better books. Or one of the rare times that I'm going for $350, I'd rather buy 5 raw copies
or more.
Because the upside of 5 mid to high grade raw copies is way higher than a fucking single 9.4 of a book. Again, when we say investment, flipping is investing, people. And I'm not saying this is quick flips, but you know, sitting on a book for 6 months, you are investing your capital, your money. You don't have that. That's invested.
Yeah. Well, we sometimes use speculation as our shorter term stuff and investing as our longer term. You know, I'm going to hold it for 15 years in the bank type thing. You know, to me, the speculation is the shorter terms. I'm playing books to move up the chain. So, yeah.
These are the quick flips.
Yes. So great book. Neither of us argue about this one. This one's definitely on there, and it's not an expensive buy-in. You can find it in bins probably even cheaper than $20 if you're lucky.
But the upside still feels like a 3 to 5x factor on.
Easily be a $75 book.
Right.
So.
Right. And again, you're not. You know, we're not all going to be millionaires off investing in small books, but
hitting
if I have $20 set aside, I'd like to cash that out for $75, $80 down the road, like
exactly
a year from now, 2 years from now. Along with other things, you know,
that's where we're looking at the Marvel horror hitting. Is probably that the rumors are going to start coming out, the details in a couple of years.
I think we're going to see lots of shit spin out of Doctor Strange, and then, with some luck, we'll see hints of crossovers between Disney Plus and the actual fucking screen. And then shit'll get wild.
All right. So, next book is, let's go with this one. No particular order. I just like to throw them in there. Giant Size Chillers #1.
It's a good book. It's a strong book.
First, Lilith, which is Dracula's daughter.
And she's all pissed off about it.
One of the stronger supernatural characters in the Marvel Universe. You know, we say that they wouldn't use Dracula, but they definitely don't avoid mentioning Dracula, but this would be a way to kind of nod their head to him, but not have to, you know, pull out a guy in a cape and call him Dracula. You know, it's a way to use the mythology, but not use the hokey part of it, I guess. And this
is not to go ahead. Sorry.
This is a serious cover too. I mean, that's gorgeous.
Well, it's a Ramita.
Yeah, Ramita. You got a black cover, dark colors. I mean, to find this puppy in high grade, tough book.
It is. A 9.0 sold earlier today on eBay for like 153, 158.
This is another one where I'm not sure where I'd invest. I think the high grade has more upside than Hannibal for some reason because people like the dark
binding.
cover.
Yeah. And the binding. So you you get those two together and I mean, I think 8 and above on this book is probably not at the buy it now price. It's the bullshit 250, 300 for an 8.5. Yeah. Like, again, I want to reference a 9.0 sold for 150-ish earlier. That I don't think is a bargain. I think that's literally market because that's what it sold for.
But I think you could go find
the future price is higher.
I think you could go hunt down some 9.0s, 9.2s in the wild if you look.
Raw, easily.
Because that's a grade not everybody wants to grade at.
Maybe not easily, but
yeah, I would play.
I mean, how many of these are sitting in bins, right? Like maybe Superworld had one for $100 in their fucking bin as a 9.0.
Yeah, they're out there.
Yeah.
You probably paid again $20, but I like the upside of grading this one, just because of the format, the colors.
And this is not to be confused with the other Lilith in the Marvel universe. Not Dracula's Daughter, the one from Vampire Tales 4.
Yeah, it is a little confusing with all that.
It was super confusing because I got all. But yeah, this one has a far higher. This version of Lilith, or this whatever you want to call it, has a far higher likelihood.
All right, so like this book.
Plant.
We'll go ahead and hit one of the big dogs because we can't ignore it. Ghost Rider. Ignore the
can't argue
Hellstrom's
this
foot.
book.
This is more just, this is the first solo title Ghost Rider. Covers badass. Strangely reminiscent to Marvel Spotlight 5 for me. I don't know why they chose to use such an image.
With jet black covers and flaming motorcycles, and I'll admit many times on the show floor and looking at walls and being like, getting all excited about something, and then actually seeing it and being like, oh wait, no, that's not the book I want. It looks like the one I want, but that's definitely not. I need something with a 5 on it.
Well, I think at this point, this one is getting to Marvel Spotlight 5 has just left the stratosphere for most people. So this is kind of going to follow the trend. It's not a cheap book, but it's cheaper. So those
This
people
should be right behind fucking Punisher, if not.
It's one of those.
Still be.
It's a good book because it's like the next value buy-in point. Those people that don't want to drop $1,000, but they want a nice looking copy, they can do that for, a couple $100 for a decent looking copy. Whereas Marvel Spotlight, to get, one with a cover, you're already at a few $100, and it ain't pretty.
Marvel Spotlight should be better, if not right behind Punisher. Just saying.
I think the higher grades are ahead, but
that's sheerly on the impossibility and the numbers in the census, right? They're when you hit the black cover and an 8 and above.
Yes, I've been sitting on an 8.5 for years now, and I have debated selling it several times, and I just keep holding it. It keeps going up, and I say, nope, that's a good investment. I'm just going to hold it. I don't think my money's going to be better anywhere.
A small handful. I traded a really nice Ghost Rider 1 to legit.
Yeah.
To be fair, I got a Superboy, the first Superboy in return, sawed in half.
That's good home.
Everyone was happy.
That's a great trade.
This book is grossly. 2 years ago. Yeah, see, 2 years ago was way too. I mean, people should have known better, man. That's all right.
It's graphic, man. That's a great one too. Good comments. Good comments. Keep them coming, guys. I don't know. Not much I can say about this book other than it's going to follow the Marvel Spotlight and just continue to go up.
It is. It's trickle down, right? It's the Hulk 180. It's the Moon Knight fucking 33, which that took way too long to catch up, but now that book's doing this. Yeah. 37's next.
And just if you like this cover, check out Global Comic Safari from about 6 weeks ago. Matt and I did an international editions of this one. A couple of really cool ones out there. So feel free to check that out if you want some eye candy, if you will.
And it looks so much more badass. As badass as this looks, some of the foreigns, it just, for whatever reason, it just makes covers pop differently.
They just use some weird things, some redraws, some recoloring, all the fun stuff. All right, this next book is one I literally said, I don't even know what you're talking about. I had to research it myself because I don't even know what it was. But you said it was on the list, and I looked at eBay. It's not flying, but it is selling, and it's one of those books that you'd probably pass up. Captain America 164. It's actually Captain America and Falcon at this point, and it is the first appearance of Nightshade.
Queen of the Werewolves. I lost fucking 7 auctions for this book this week. That's what I have to say about that book.
Really?
August 1973. That's when this is from.
Nightshade has a bunch of renditions too, so it was a weird character if you get on the Marvel Wiki.
Sporadic appearances, but this book goes on here just because I came across it one day and thought, oh shit, I bet I can buy a bunch of cheap copies, and they weren't as cheap as I thought they were. Should be, or whatever. You know what I mean? So clearly other people are way ahead on this.
Yeah, other people are watching
like you said, it's not flying, but gone are the $10, $20 mid grades. Now they're $40 to $60.
But you can find them in the bin.
And that's going to be cheap. Of course you can. Jesus. I think, right? I keep thinking Bronze Age, early Bronze Age is everywhere, but it's like Pokemon cards. You wake up one morning and all the shit's wicked expensive.
Getting there.
Just saying.
I think you can find it. It's an interesting cover. I mean, that werewolf collectors are probably also going to grab it just because it's a werewolf cover too. So it's got a little cross appeal.
But the tie-in is she ties in with Misty Knight, like in like 90s or 2000s comics. She ties in with a couple other very relevant, easy to introduce. I don't think she'll be a big part, but we all know how books go with, oh, she's going to fucking Howard the Duck. Howard the fucking Duck. That's my new answer to everything is fucking Fear 19. We're done. Like, not a good investment. It's fucking a reach. Howard the Duck. Like,
one scene was all it took.
One scene in that book. It hit before that scene even hit. That was $100 and something in fucking 9-ish. So that's what's going to happen here with a way better character. Sorry, Howard fans and Duck supporters. I don't know.
What are you going to do?
I don't know, Z. We're going to take you all over the rails is what we're going to do.
Let's see. Let's go. Giant-sized creatures. So this is a weird one because it's not a horror character, but a character kind of turned horror. It's the cat is Patsy Walker from the Netflix universe became Pseudo the cat. But
from the Golden Age, Pat's like it goes back to Miss America like magazine, whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah, so it's a weird little story, and then she becomes Tiger. What's funny is I think about this book because I shit you not, at a show had to be 8 to 10 years ago. I remember sitting next to a guy that swears this is the book to buy. This is going to be the next book that goes crazy because of this character. And I was like, what are you on? And as we went further and further along, I'm like, well, it hasn't yet. So it might.
It got hot for a little while. A couple years ago.
It was up
on
when the
like
Patsy
G
Walker
Plus days.
It was up with the Patsy Walker on.
Because of Jessica Jones.
Yes, and I think it was a stretch for her to turn into this character on the street level show. But if the horror universe goes, I could see it going a little weirder. I don't think it's I don't think it's best movie spec. I think it's just a character that, as people nab up key issues and key events, is just going to make the list of books they want
every time. And that's a great point, is we don't always need movies or TV to make a book better. We don't even need fucking comic book appearances to renew interest. People want keys. People want firsts. This isn't news. We're not teaching you anything here. But pointing stuff like this out, I mean, especially when a book gets cool. This book was hot. This book's not very hot right now.
No, not at all.
But this book has lots of room to grow and no reason to drop from where it is right now.
No,
right?
And, it's got the character on the cover, decent looking character with the werewolf. You could do better. It's square bound. I mean, so it's a solid minor key issue. So always
with
some
a
room
fair
to grow.
buy-in and definite upside.
Exactly. When they're that cheap, there's room to grow. We're flying through these picks tonight, sir. We are on point. We are way too on point for our audience. They're usually not even tuned in at minute 29.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like, missed the damn show because you guys were too tuned in. We're have to get distracted in a minute.
I'll take you down a fucking side road, man. We'll go the long way.
We got a couple picks left, right? What do we got? 2, 3? I'm checking my list. Make sure.
There's 2 tombs.
Yeah, 2. Let's hit one more of the tombs, and then we'll go to the 2 that we like a lot. All right, Tomb of Dracula, number
This is 3. This is my favorite book on the list. Period. The end. Good
Really?
God, do I like this book? Absolutely. Holy shit! So
You
first,
like this
Rachel
more
Van
than the
Helsing.
other one?
More than 25?
No, the
Oh,
third
more
one.
than the no. I'd like yes. As far as a strict enjoyment, I like the book. Fuck yes. Is a better one? Is the other one a long-term, safe, no matter what, trickle-down investment?
All right.
Yes. Is Rachel Van Helsing grossly undervalued right now? Given, I don't think you can do any form of fucking Dracula or any of the story or any fucking Blade bullshit without. Well, you can do Blade without her all day, but man,
Depends what story they want to
nothing but
follow.
upside. Everyone's buying female characters. Marvel Bronze Horror is just starting to hit. I remember what the other fucking book is. The other book's fun. Not the Toon book. The other book.
Yeah.
It's
an interesting character. Who doesn't like a female vampire hunter? I mean, there's Bloodstone that's floating around. This one, there's a few in the universe that could be used. Her and Bloodstone feel the most likely to be kind of in the mix. I find it hard to do both, but it's not impossible. So we'll just have to kind of see. But I think where it's at is not a big book. It's got, a female on the cover, green dress distress, if you will. So I don't know where the ceiling is. I don't know if it's
She's cheap. A Dracula hunter. She's one of the fucking vampire hunters. She's showing up.
I mean, it's cheap. That's all.
They are coming as a side story to Blade. Like, you don't do fucking. You're like Blade's vampire hunter, but not vampire hunters.
Yeah,
we don't know what you're talking about. Those.
We watched the first trilogy. We saw where their mind goes. Is hey, we're gonna keep it tight for the first one, but as we get going, we're gonna add allies and we're gonna add more people to the story because you have to.
I feel like we could even get it in the first, like just set up fucking vampire Dracula hunters and set up what's the other one?
Well, it just depends where they want to go.
Night Thrashers,
Oh yeah, the Night Stalkers.
Night Stalkers. Set it both up right there because you don't have to do either. You don't have to go either way. You can go. I don't know, man. Because you have Morbius too, right? And some weird, shitty, fucking theoretical crossover.
And we'll mention that we left Morbius off the list because he's in the fucking Sony universe.
Well, that's just different, and it's fucking Spider-Man. Like it was already hot, and then it got hotter, and then investment-wise, I would say ASM 101 is a poor investment at this point. Yes. It is on everyone's fucking radar. It is blowing up everything. And
don't buy what the hot book is. Buy what the cold book is.
Who gives a fuck about Jared Leto after this, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like Morbius, like if Doctor Strange went to a grand a point and then came back to like a half, if not lower than that, I don't care how Spider-Man the key is, it's not getting fucking it's not staying at that price, man. This book for $10 to $40 all goddamn day. Worst case scenario, you bought into a first female appearance that is incredibly relevant to all 60 issues of Tomb of Dracula, as well as ripples out into the Bronze Age. I don't know, man. This is my favorite book, besides the other two.
So this next one is a favorite of our friend Mr. Sean, and it is not cheap in high grade, but I still think in the average grades it's got some room to grow. We talk about the Night Stalkers or the Spirits of Vengeance and all those team ups, but this is kind of another way they could go. It's Legion of Monsters. Listen, Morbius is off the table.
Just for what it's worth, people, this is the fucking dream here.
But it would be probably an entirely different team other than maybe the Werewolf and Ghost Rider, because Morbius is gone. I don't think Man-Thing plays well. But
I do. I don't think Man-Thing enough to make the list, but I think we could
It's hard to say. This book, though.
Either way, this is the monster crime for all our Golden Age friends out there. This is the monster crime of the Bronze Age.
Nick Cardy cover, very underappreciated artist in my book. Beautiful yellow, with 3 great characters and 1 interesting one.
Did you say Nick Cardy cover?
Yeah.
Huh. I looked at MCS and I didn't know.
And he is, you get into the 9.6, 9.8. This is a big boy book. I'm not even sure there was a 9.8 last I looked, but maybe there is now. There's not many. It is tough for some reason.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Very tough book. 9.6s are plentiful, but not cheap. 9.8s are not plentiful. And like I said, we're avoiding the magazines and all that stuff that rolls into it, but just this book already has a cult following, but if you're in the kind of the lower to mid grades, I think there's still room to appreciate as these characters get brought more to light. See where it goes.
I think you're right. I think that this book's crazy. I think that the cult following has grown. And as we get closer into, and again, it is speculation and coolness. If it never happens, this book's still fucking cool. People still want this book, and it's not going to go away.
Yeah,
the safest part of comics outside of Golden Age Batman and Silver Age Spider-Man, and probably X-Men now. That shit got hairy for a while, but X-Men's back to that safe zone. Horror. Golden Age, Silver Age, fucking modern, it doesn't matter. The price on some of these modern horror books, just because the horror community is like the Star Wars community. It is gargantuan, and it fucking dwarfs comics so completely that it's what drives the price on Star Wars comics, too, for what it's worth. 90% outside of, like, Revan. And even that is still the fucking Star Wars people that only collect comics. I mean, only collect Star Wars comics. I don't collect comics.
Yeah.
Horror folks only collect horror. The more that get into it, the more that get... Oh, man.
Well,
everything about this book is...
I've said it before. Everybody says, what's the next Walking Dead? I don't think there is a next Walking Dead. I don't think there ever will be, because Walking Dead hit the horror world. And they have... I'm not going to say they have more money than the comic community, but they are not afraid to spend it. So you get 2 communities of people buying like that, and that book is just not going to freaking come back to the world. And if some of those people continue to buy some of these other comics as the horror of Marvel kind of starts to peak and grow, and if Blade does well, some of that's just going to fall into these things that they didn't know they wanted.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. So
this is a safe book. I think it's going to have, we talked about it a few other times, it's not going to be an inflation type book, and it's not going to probably be a skyrocketer, but I think it's going to be one of those, you're going to gain 10, 20% pretty steadily on this puppy. It's just one of those books that I think people
in
like.
In the higher levels.
Yes.
8 or better, probably, is my opinion.
It's one of those books people like, and they're going to continue to like. So I like it, and I still think it's undervalued, and go with that.
Everything about it. And shout out to Sean Legit.
Yes, who told me to buy a high grade long ago, and I never found one, and I should have bought one because it's still going. All right, one last book on the list, and as I read into this one more, I liked it more and more and more. Tomb of Dracula again. We're going to. If you've seen any of the original movies, this character got used, but it is a combo of things. It's the first Deacon Frost. It's the Blade origin. A couple other characters from Blade's origin are thrown in there, but it is just got a lot in it. Deacon Frost in the movies, the original movie was the main protagonist. I cannot think of the actor's name at the moment. But I mean, the story. the story kind of followed the comics to a degree, except they didn't tie him to Blade's origin like in the comic. But he was ultimately looking for like a vampire deity to escalate him. But in the comics, he's got powers. It's a wonky story in the Bronze Age. Something about he's a different type of vampire and he can make doppelgangers. And this rolls through the Blade story and somehow attributes Blade.
He controls them, is what it is. It's not doppelgangers or whatever. He is like the unique, like, right? Or am I fucking getting confused?
Well, he has that, but he also there's some doppelgangers because there's a doppelganger of himself later in different versions, and there's a doppelganger of Blade and possibly Hannibal. He in the comics is tied to both of those characters and their origin. In the comics, he's the one that. Well, it's confusing because I had to read about it because there's different origins, and I think Marvel kind of got confused and wonky with it in the time because there's some version where Dracula is responsible for Blade, and there's other versions where not, and some story where Hannibal or Deacon created Blade, and then Dracula killed somebody else, and that's how he became nemesis with both. But
brother, I got to interrupt you to address the chat. This is one of the very rarely do we interrupt something to address the chat, but never ask eBay what a first appearance is. I just want to put that out there. eBay says Ghost Rider 28 is the first. Ghost Rider 28 is the second or third of that Lilith, which is the Vamp Tales, right?
Oh yeah.
Giant Sized Chillers is the Lilith that's Dracula's daughter. I'm sorry, Z.
No, it's fine. Stephen Dorff, thank you to the chat. That's who I couldn't think of. But the original Blade movie was badass. That was a good character. It was a good theory. And again, this book, beyond that, is the origin book. I mean, people used to love the origin books more than they do now. And Blade's origin has been retconned a few times, but this is where they started to put story to this character that eventually came out of a horror title to become, the guy that brought the Marvel Universe to screen to a degree. I mean, it was a crap show. Other than Spider-Man would make appearances, but they couldn't turn a character. And all of a sudden, Blade does a trilogy, man. So this is a very important book. A very important book in the Blade. Legacy. Deacon Frost is extremely important. If he's not used, I would be amazed. I think it'll be
arguably. Go ahead.
It'll be a different twist than some of the other, the previous rendition, I'm sure. But I mean, he has to be in this mix.
I think outside of Blade, it's an important Bronze Age book. And again, I never paid much respect to the Bronze Age because I didn't believe in it. And it's unfortunate because, I mean, Z, we've done fine in silver and gold, and the missed opportunity in bronze is sickening.
Listen, I missed in silver, so I got in a little late and a little poor to do silver well, and I should have done bronze instead.
I did silver well for somebody who had not a big boy budget to play. Between the trading and the maneuvering and fucking.
You were smarter than me to begin with.
I got lucky as anything too, man. This book as a whole, though, this is important to the Bronze Age as a whole because of how important 10 has become.
Yes. And
10 should be an important book. 10's a wildly important book outside of the character itself. It is arguably one of the, it's not arguably, it's one of the top fucking 5, if not 3 Bronze Age books. Oh no, top 5. I forget about I always forget Giant Size is just stupid now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That book's like 600 in mid-grade. No, it's definitely not, dude.
No, it's not anymore. I cry every time I see that book.
Trickle down. This is the book. As people get priced out at 10, you have everything. You have Blade on the fucking cover, and that's what you want out of a second appearance.
Well, here's the other.
Book 182 has such a shit cover, and it's like the 4th appearance by the time you get to it. Whatever. But this book has everything you want in a second appearance. Everything. Gorgeous cover.
The other
Gene
weirdness
Colan.
of this, there's no Blade, comic. He drifted in the magazines, but people tend to avoid the magazines. We've seen it with the Guardians of the Galaxy characters. And so, there is no Blade 1 comic book. So that leaves a little void that, when the hell does he get his first run? The 90s?
Yeah, right.
I don't think there's an 80s version.
No, there's definitely not an 80s version.
It's the late 90s even, I think.
Oh, no, there's a late 80s, early 90s. Well, no, he's in, like magazines he has.
Yeah, but like in
stories.
comics, there's not like a
Blade #1 to go to until the 90s.
Correct. So this kind of de facto becomes a more important book because that book doesn't exist.
Yeah, this is also the FF49, the Hulk 180 in reverse, but this has more going for it than a lot of things. FF fucking 49 is a beast. Another book that is. I held all my 48s and fucking sold a dozen 49s as I got them and flipped them because it was the second one and no one really cared.
Yeah.
That's cool. Fuck.
Yeah. So nobody's going to argue that this is not a book that is got potential. It's got some heat, but I think there's a lot of room for it to kind of keep marinating and going up.
Huge room, because this is the bullshit that happened with ASM 1. Hulk 180, when people were like, oh, I think we should get into it. It's starting to fucking go somewhere. And it was like, gone. That's what's going to happen with Ghost Rider 1 as well.
Yeah.
People are already priced out of Spotlight, and we have to remember as a market, as a community, as speculators and investors, which I'll say till the end of time, speculation and investing go like this. You need to speculate. You need to be talented enough at speculating or informed enough on speculation to be able to invest properly.
Yeah, unless you're just independently wealthy and are just throwing your money at the books that we.
But sure. If you can fucking buy Action 1 and mid-grade fucking AF-15s, and you do not need to know anything other than
buy
for
them.
you got money.
And hold them as many as you can.
Hooray! But
the rest of us humans need to work that way.
What's the right book to buy? This book seems pricey until you look at don't look at the prices of 181 and the prices of 180. Look at the gap. Look at the price of 180 now. Look at the price of 180 a year ago, 2 years, 3, 4 years ago. This is 180 5 years ago. It's just starting to fucking go.
Yeah.
You got an answer. I told you.
1998 was the first Blade comic.
Right.
Nice work.
Late 90s.
Chaos. I appreciate that fact finding.
And hello to everyone in the chat that's joined.
Where's our technical advisor, Solo Wookie, man? I think maybe he's like, there's no machines here. You don't need me.
I think as soon as it was post 1940 anything, he was.
Yeah. This is not worth my time to tell you that plane is not accurate. That plane didn't exist till 1952.
Yep. You and your silly 51 comic.
If you missed Solo Wookie, check him out on Tales of the Dark Side.
I was just going to say that. Star Wars fans.
That is your Star Wars show. If you are hardcore or want to become hardcore, those are the guys talking the stuff that, is a couple years out or maybe a couple weeks out if you're talking Mandalorian, man. They are in the freaking rabbit hole that I am not smart enough to jump into because my brain is filled with Golden Age obscurities, but theirs is full of Star Wars. Bullshit. Copper Age fucking Crow books, which is really just 2 that I keep buying.
That's a big part of the brain.
Yes.
I want to quickly circle out of the Star Wars and back into Phil, one of the CBSI writers, a dude who handles a back nine with all the writers, dropped a Star Wars highly contested wild speculation, but it's very transparent speculation. It's a great fucking read. It's on comicbookinvest.com. Check it out after the show.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you, everybody. It's been a great show. I know it's a little shorter. We're trying to be a little focused because we get a little wandering and crazy sometimes. But as we get to the younger books, there's a little less for us to get distracted on sometimes. So we appreciate it.
Just deliver the info, the opinion, and let you do with it what you want.
Yes, we'll continue to get on some diatribes, but we're going to try and keep it tighter for some of these modern shows. Again, like and subscribe. If you've got something you want us to talk about, we're happy to take some input. Shoot us a comment or leave a comment on the video. And thank you all. Check out Comic Barricade.
Thanks. Yep, and to everyone in the chat, Diesel, your brother, Chuck, Kibby. Just want to make sure we mention everyone collecting. We appreciate the chat. So
absolutely. And as always, comicbookinvest.com. Thank you all. We will be back next week with something awesome. We have no idea what it'll be, but we'll figure it out about midweek. And we'll see you all soon. Thanks, guys.